After its box office winning streak was snapped with Solo, a Star Wars story, flopping, Disney is turning to Pixar and The Incredibles 2 to get back to its record-breaking ways. And some box office trackers think that new records may indeed be set, as the sequel to Brad Bird's superhero film could post the best opening weekend for an animated film in movie history. Pixar currently holds that record with Finding Dory, which made $135 million 2 years ago. Trackers are split on whether Incredibles 2 will beat that, with some having it come just short at $125 minus $130 million, while others expect the new record to be set at $145 million. Also read, Incredibles 2 is one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. In 6 other fantastic reviews, Disney is keeping its projections broad at $120 minus $140 million as they release it on over 4,400 screens. But regardless of whether it tops Finding Dory, Incredibles 2 is widely expected to become only the 7th animated film, and 3rd by Pixar, to earn an opening weekend of more than $100 million. The first, Incredibles, opened to $70 million in 2004, and Incredibles 2 will still have a higher opening than its predecessor even after inflation adjustments are made. Taking place right after the end of the first film, The Incredibles 2 sees the Parr family face a new family dynamic after Elastigirl is recruited for a campaign to help bring superheroes back. While she fights the bad guys, Mr. Incredible is left to take care of his 3 kids, including the infant Jack, who begins to develop his own powers. Brad Bird returns to write and direct, as well as provide the voice for fan-favorite Edna Mode. Craig T. Nelson, Helen Hunt, and Samuel L. Jackson also return to the cast, being joined by Better Call Saul stars Bob Odenkirk and Jonathan Banks. Critics have nearly unanimously praised the film, giving it a current Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%. Also read, Avengers: Infinity War, every box office record it broke on the road to $2 billion. Photos also being released this weekend is Warner Brothers' New Lines ensemble comedy, Tag, which is based on the true story of a lifelong group of friends who played a game of tag for 23 years. This comedy comes 4 months after New Line's last comedy, Game Night, opened to $17 million and went on to gross a very solid $117 million worldwide against a $37 million budget. Tag is expected to open slightly below that at $13 minus $15 million against a budget in the upper $20 million range. The film will open for Thursday previews on 2,900 screens and expand to just under 3,400 screens on Friday. The film stars Ed Helms, Jeremy Renner, Jen Hamm, Hannibal Buress, and Jock Johnson as the crew of friends, with the cast completed by Rashida Jones, Isla Fisher, Annabelle Wallis, Leslie Bibb, Ryan Dennehy, and Lil Rel Howery. Jeff Tomsic directed from a script by Rob McGuirk and Mark Stylen. Also read, Superfly, film review, remake updates blaxploitation genre with wit and resonance. Finally, there's Sony Silver Pictures' remake of the famed 70s blaxploitation drama, Superfly, which holds a Rotten Tomatoes score of 67% and will open on Wednesday without previews. Trackers expect the film to make $7 minus $12 million over 5 days, with the film sporting a reported budget of $16 million. Superfly stars Trevor Jackson as Youngblood Priest, a career criminal who wants out of the Atlanta drug business, only to get dragged into even deeper trouble after one bad deal. Jason Mitchell, Michael Kenneth Williams, Lex Scott Davis, and Jennifer Morrison also star, with director X helming the film. Watchmen co-writer Alex Say penned the script, with Joel Silver producing with Atlanta rapper Future. This summer, there are very few direct box office showdowns. Most weekends will be defined by a single, highly anticipated film entering theaters. But those films will be competition for other big blockbusters coming out the week before and could impact their long-term domestic total. With that in mind, here are the matchups to look out for. May 25th, Solo, a Star Wars story, opening versus Deadpool 2, second weekend, the sequel to the second highest-grossing R-rated film of all time, is expected to match its predecessor's $132 million opening. But while Deadpool had February 2016 mostly to itself, it will have to go head-to-head in its second week against Han Solo's origin story, which could split the 18 to 35 demographic on Memorial Day weekend, June 8. Ocean's 8 vs. Hereditary, after Wonder Woman gave Warner Bros. a big summer last year, the studio is sending in this all-female Ocean's 11 spin-off as a refreshing alternative for female audiences to the big, male-dominated smash-ups. Another film that will try to compete for that same demographic is A24's Hereditary, which scared the bejesus out of audiences at Sundance. June 22, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom vs. Incredibles 2, third weekend. Perhaps this won't be much of a contest, but once upon a time, the Jurassic series was an arm-wrest-grabbing thriller that families could go to together. But the Jurassic World sequel is being sold as a more mature thriller, which means that there might not be as much overlap between its main audience and that of Pixar's long-awaited follow-up to The Incredibles. July 13, Skyscraper vs. Ant-Man and the Wasp, second weekend. Ant-Man, I wasn't as big a box office hit as its MCU brethren, but the jaw-dropping ending of Avengers: Infinity War drew more audiences in to see how Scott Lang could factor into next year's Avengers finale. Against that behemoth, Dwayne Johnson will try to work his box office magic again with a thriller that will see the 8-time WWE champion play his most vulnerable action hero yet. August, Mission: Impossible, Fallout vs. Christopher Robin vs. The Spy Who Dumped Me. The summer season will see a steady slowdown in August, as there's no Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy on the slate this year. Instead, the sixth Mission: Impossible film will be the big blockbuster on offer, trying to match the $195 million domestic total of its predecessor. Meanwhile, Disney will send in Ewan McGregor to play a grown-up Christopher Robin, while Kate McKinnon and Mila Kunis will provide some comedic alternatives. This summer, there are very few direct box office showdowns. Most weekends will be defined by a single, highly anticipated film entering theaters. But those films will be competition for other big blockbusters coming out the week before and could impact their long-term domestic total. With that in mind, here are the matchups to look out for.